Bonjour tout le monde.
More job losses in Tokoroa, does that concern you?
Yeah, it does, and it's why energy matters so much to the New Zealand economy. At the end of the day, there's all sorts of speculation, all sorts of direction. You've got to make it easier to build more generation capacity, and that's what the government's committed to doing.
We've also seen that food prices have gone up again, not as much as they were previously, but obviously the cost of living is still pretty tough.
Yeah, it's part of a story that prices are high, although the rises have largely stopped. The big exception here is dairy, because dairy prices have risen. That is good for New Zealand overall because of more revenue for farmers. It's very tough for households and families looking at the price of butter and milk and cheese. The real solution to all of this is for New Zealand to become a wealthier country. That means less red tape, less government waste, more foreign investment, all the things that raise wages.
Is that satisfied at the moment with where Cabinet is sitting in terms of whether or not to recognise Palestine?
Look, Cabinet has the issue under consideration, so we can't really be satisfied or unsatisfied with considering something. It's just a process that we're going through.
Were you satisfied with the in-principle decision made?
Well, again, if there was an in-principle decision made, I wouldn't be here to commentate on it. What I do respect is that we're going through a procedure of thinking about this really carefully. What country are you recognising, which boundaries, which government, and what are the implications of recognising it? As the government works through that, the right minister at the right time will make an announcement.
Has Winston Bennett been given delegated authority or been empowered to make that final decision?
No particular individual has been given the power to make that sort of decision. This will be a decision for the government.
Have you seen Simon Court?
Sorry.
Have you seen the comments that Simon Court made on X over the weekend?
Yeah, I have, and I thought his commentary on terrorist chic was actually quite timely. I think a lot of people probably got a little tired of seeing that sort of get-up.
Well, the Prime Minister said those comments were unhelpful this morning. Is that a bit of a contradiction?
Well, I don't think he was trying to help. I think he was trying to express the views that many New Zealanders hold.
Is it your view that people at that pro-Palestine rally are supporting Hamas?
Well, many of them are. Obviously, when you take a group of people, they'll have a spectrum of views, but there seems to be a real lack of understanding that this is a terrorist group. You know, these are people that did horrendous things and would like to do more horrendous things. That's why we have this conflict.
Do you think the Greens are dressing up in terrorist chic?
Well, I don't want to try and give them fashion advice, even if they may need it. The fact is that, I'm worried more about fixing what matters here in New Zealand, and that is how do we make life more affordable, generate more electricity, cut red tape and stop government waste so people can get ahead. That's, I think, ultimately where most people want to go, but you guys can ask as many questions about the other side of the world as you like.
Can you please explain why stereotyping a cultural wear worn by many people, not just terrorists, and saying that is terrorist chic isn't racist?
Well, first of all, it's not in any way attached to a race of people. It's actually a criticism of a group of people, Hamas, who wear something that has been attached to terrorism because they're deemed a terrorist group by the New Zealand government.
It's not just the group wearing that, though. So why is that type of clothing associated with terrorism, and why is that?
Well, because terrorists wear it. Now, this is very simple. There's two possible explanations. It's because terrorists wear it, or because you want to do the usual tiresome thing of saying that you're racist. And I tell you what, one of the reasons that people are getting a little tired of media and some of the narratives is this instant jump to the worst possible conclusion. Actually, most people, most of the time, are just trying to get by and make the world a better place. And a bit of mockery for people that dress up in the uniform that is actually a terrorist uniform, I think deserves a bit of mockery, and they got it.
Could you speak to ACT's general position on the conflict in Gaza and your party's concerns about any future leadership in that area?
Well, I think the starting point is it's terrible. I mean, you see these people suffering, and then you ask yourself, what can practically be done about it by a government like New Zealand? And what we are doing, first of all, we've condemned some of the Israelis, we've demanded the return of the hostages, we've sent aid, which is having difficulty getting across the border, we accept, but everyone's having that problem, and we've said that we are prepared to recognise Palestine as part of a two-state solution, but that is a matter of when the conditions are right, and at the present time there are serious questions over whether the time is right, given the issues of, well, who's the government, What are the borders? What does it mean to recognise people, which could be seen as a reward for terrorism? These are serious questions. I think when you look at the position of the New Zealand government, it is by far the most sensible and nuanced position that there is. And the people who on either sides of the debate have absolute certainty of who is right and who is wrong, I just say to them, it's been going for 4,000 years. If there was an easy answer, I think someone would have figured it out by now.
Are you keeping track of the conversation at the UN in terms of the two-state conference there, and are you looking for anything in particular out of that in order to meet those qualifications you're giving?
Well, to answer your question in a word, no.
Why not?
My views on the UN are fairly well known.
Right.
So.
But I mean, in order to meet those qualifications, how are you going to identify when that happens?
Well, we're using a range of sources, and mostly it'll be advice from our own agency, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
And do you see a need for the hostages to be released in order for recognition to occur?
Yeah, we're not going to recognise a state that's currently weaponising hostages, holding people for years on end in absolutely inhumane conditions. I mean, who would recognise that?
MPs from the Greens, Labour and Pāti Māori were at that Palestine protest in Auckland, that rally. Do you think that some of them condoned the actions of Hamas?
Well, I don't know what their motivations were for being there. All I'd say to them is, look, there's a few challenges here at home. What I'm doing every day is trying to get more students to go to school and try and unite New Zealand around our shared challenges. There's the people out there like John Tamihere who are entirely fixated on where we've come from. I'm worried about where we're going as a country. For students, that's going to school, and for the economy, that's going ahead with higher wages. Those are the challenges that we've had as a country.
If you don't know what their motivations are, how can you say that they're dressing up as terrorists?
Well, because they're in the dress of an organisation called Hamas that is a terrorist organisation that has the same thing as its uniform. So I don't know how many other ways I could explain it to you.
If you don't think that Palestine should be recognised as a country until the hostages are released, does that mean that realistically Winston Peters isn't going to declare that New Zealand's position is the recognition of Palestine next week because the hostages won't be released by then?
Well, they might be. I mean, I would hope that they will be. If you're assuming they won't be, that's very sad for those people. And actually, you don't need to know what someone's motivations are to criticise their dress. Nice try, though.
What do you make of the latest statement from John Tamihere with regards to the situation with Tapu defence?
Look, John Tamihere and the Māori Party are focused on where we've come from. I'm focused on where we're going as a country. There's far too much division based on identity, not enough problem solving with New Zealand working together. And I believe that what people are starting to see is what I've been saying for a long time about Te Pāti Māori. They are absolutely obsessed and fixated with identity, and when you're more focused on what separates you than what unites you, you don't solve any problems.
Minister, when can we expect the cabinet paper for the possible merge of MPP and Ministry for Women, etc., to be presented to cabinet?
Well, if that was going to happen, it would most likely be presented by the Minister for Public Service. I'm not aware that she's planning to bring a paper, but she could be. I don't know what lots of ministers are bringing papers to Cabinet, but I don't know what they're planning at the moment. I will see the paper when it comes to Cabinet. All right. Thank you very much, folks. Cheers.